I am super honored to have Dr. Jessica Chung join us on the Nurses on Fire podcast. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, Nasima.
And Jessica has an extraordinary story of how she was able to start her own practice as a nurse practitioner and is teaching others how to do so. So, Jessica, tell us how you got started in nursing, and then we'll talk about where you are now.
All right. So I got started in nursing. Actually, I had considered two majors while I was in undergrad, and I'm probably like a lot of people. And I knew I wanted to go in the medical field, and so I considered pre-med. I was a biology major. I did that for a year, and I just wasn't feeling it. It was, I wasn't feeling it. So, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do accounting. I'm good with numbers. Two things I was good with: math and numbers and science. So, I was always math or science. And I was like, well, I don't know how I'll do with that. And so finally I just made it was literally like a last minute decision to go into the nursing program. And now that I think about it, hindsight, I did that. And that was all faith, because I took all the courses, had no idea if I was even going to actually get into the nursing program. But lo and behold, I made it. I'm in. I made it through, and I'm here now.
Right. I love that. I love that you started in undergrad. And it's crazy because, like you said, I was pre-med, and then I didn't really know any nurses. And so I was just like, it's like, be a doctor. People are always pushing you to be a doctor. So I was like, why
Yeah.
would I be a nurse? And somebody was like, you should really get into the nursing program. And I thought that they were insulting me. This is, 18-year-old me. And
Right.
so I was like, why would I be a nurse if I was going to be a doctor? Like, why would you say that? But that was the last year that they offered a nursing program at USC. And I wish my roommate across the hall was in the nursing program, and she's a DMP as well. And I wish I would have went to nursing school then. Like, that's one of my biggest regrets. So yeah, same
Oh,
path. Two different decisions.
yes.
Yeah. So you went to nursing school undergrad, but now you're a doctorate in nursing. So talk to me about that journey.
Well, so one thing, when I went into nursing, I knew I wanted to be a nurse practitioner. And my story was, I actually was talking to a classmate in a biology class, I believe it was, and he was telling me how his mom was a nurse practitioner. And I don't think I've ever, at that time, this was, back in 2004, 2005, I don't think I had ever heard of that term, that profession. And it definitely wasn't, saturated back then in the early 2000s. And I was like, wait, so you mean to tell me like your mom's a nurse, but she could do things that physicians can do? And I was like, oh, I like the way that sounds. I like that. So when I went into nursing school, I knew I wanted to be a nurse practitioner. That was, or at least I thought that was my end goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a registered nurse for a couple years, not very long. I think I did nursing for about 3 years before I decided to go back for my master's degree. So finally went back for my master's degree in 2013, graduated in 2015 with my concentration as a family nurse practitioner. And I thought I was done. I was like, cool, I got my master's, I'm a nurse practitioner, gonna go out, make more money, do what nurse practitioners do. And it wasn't until about a year later, I had a conversation with my pastor, who encourages me so much. And he was like, you need to go back for a doctorate. It's like, no, sir. You don't know how much money I've spent. You don't know how many years I've been in school. You don't know how tired I am. I don't feel that calling. I don't think so. And as you can see, I listened. I obeyed. And I'm glad I did. So sometimes you need mentors, whether career, whether they're just coach mentors or even spiritual mentors. I am so glad that I went back, because there's just opportunities and doors and that open for me, and that because I have my doctorate, I was able to leverage that in so many ways. So that, that's how I made it here.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I admire you.
Aw.
Yeah, getting a doctorate isn't on my radar. But believe me, it's been offered, you know. Um, but yeah, I found that um, I'm an FNP as well, and I'm in California though, and it was just a real opportunity cost to actually work as an FNP because the pay is lower, and
Wow.
yeah, it's substantially lower in the clinics versus the hospitals just because of the way our unions are set up.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't like clinic work. So the only way that I ever saw myself being an FNP was to start my own practice. But when I was graduating from nursing school, I searched for resources on how a nurse practitioner can start their own practice, and there was nothing there. There was like maybe this little ebook, like that was like $1 or something out there, but it didn't really have that much information. And so I was just like, well, might as well just keep on making the good money that I'm making. And so I never even used my MP license, and I graduated, geez, almost embarrassing to say, like 8 years ago with it. So, but you have solved that problem, right? You saw that
I
demand.
would like to
Yeah.
say that I did. For at least for me, I would like to say I did.
Hmm. So tell us about what you help other nurse practitioners do.
Well, what I basically, and I have an upcoming workshop in April 4th, 2020 in Tampa, Florida. And basically, what I'm doing is I am taking a year and a half worth of research, a year and a half worth of trial and error, a year and a half worth of saving. And I'm just taking everything that I've learned from different places, different resources, and I am basically just providing that to other nurse practitioners who were in my same predicament, where, you know, and I'm not gonna tell you I haven't had a great career. I've had a position where, six figures was, that's easy.
Yeah,
There's no problem there. But when you're starting to see how much time am I trading for this salary, am I really making 60, 65, $70 an hour if I add up all the hours that I'm working, or am I making $30, which I can go back to the floor and work 3 12s and have 4 days off a week? So I started to think about it, and I said, well, in some cases, it's not always about the money. And you have to look at other things. How are you trading your time for that money? And because time is money. And
right.
so I just want to show other nurse practitioners that it is attainable, it is doable, and you just have to make a decision if it's for you. If you are okay working and climbing the ladder where you are, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I just found an opportunity, doors were opening for me, and I was being led in this direction. And um, it's definitely, for me, it's definitely a dream come true.
Right. So, in helping nurses like have their own practice and start their own business, what are some things that you feel like um, will allow them to create their own financial freedom? Like, how is this different from working for somebody else or working just on the floor as a nurse? Like going back to being a floor nurse.
Right. So one thing I am learning, and I'm literally seeing this like kind of unfold before my eyes every day, is that there are so many opportunities that as a entrepreneur, business owner, that you can create for yourself, that you could do it working a full-time job, but it would be a bit more difficult, but it's definitely attainable. But when you step into the world of entrepreneurship, you create opportunities for yourself. You can do things that, like for example, me, I'm doing things that I could not find on the internet. I've researched, I've looked for a workshop, maybe a class that would help nurse practitioners start their own business, and I couldn't find it. So basically, what did I do? I created an opportunity for self. And that's what I would say to someone who is a nurse who's still working on the floor, or working a full time benefited job, as to why would you go this route? Well, you can create opportunities for yourself. Who said that your salary had to be capped at $100,000 a year? Why couldn't you exceed that? Who said that all you had to do was healthcare as a nurse practitioner? There's so much you could do. I mean, in terms of healthcare, who said it only had to be outpatient or hospitalist? You can consult, you can do product reviews, you can do education to other healthcare professionals. There's so much that the industry can use from our knowledge as nurse practitioners, that the possibilities and opportunities are endless.
Can you speak to some of the things that you've been able to do just being a nurse entrepreneur?
Definitely make my own schedule. If there's not one thing that I love, I love to have my own schedule. I love to just do things when and how I want to. Now, does that mean I just feel like, oh, I want to wake up at 10 a.m.? No. Whether I'm actually going into the office or going into work or something, I have a schedule. I get up in the morning, I do my routine, whatever it is I need to do. Because one thing about being an entrepreneur, you have to have discipline. You have to have discipline. You have to know discipline, because or else you're going to fall apart. Your business is going to fall apart if you don't have discipline. But that's one thing I love, is that having more freedom of my time. There are days where I work more than I want to. Then there's days where I work less than I want to. So it goes both ways. But in the end, there's pros and cons to everything. And going this route, for me, there's definitely more pros than cons.
So, this is a financial podcast. So, what are some money mistakes that you've made along your journey?
Money mistakes. Oh boy. So let me just go back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to undergrad. So for the nurses that are in school, or even nurse practitioners going back to school, if you can, get as much free money as possible. If somebody would have told me, sit down and apply for some scholarships, let somebody else pay for your schooling, I would have done it. But I didn't hear that a lot. And so therefore I didn't know a lot about it. But I implore those who are listening, get those. There are so many scholarships out there available, whether you're a woman, no matter what your race is. It could be because your great grandfather was Native American. There are so many scholarships available. Um, get those scholarships and let somebody pay for your education. If you can graduate with no student loans, you are already ahead of the game.
Way ahead.
Already ahead of the
Mhm.
game. So that is definitely, I wouldn't say it was a mistake. It was just a lack of knowledge that I wish I would have had, is getting, free money for schooling. Some other financial mistakes, I would say, I wish I was had been more bold enough negotiating salaries in the past. And even if I would have been shot down, it didn't matter. At least I would have tried. But I wish I was bold enough, more bold, to negotiate salaries, because I look back on how much I've worked and how hard I've worked. And I'm like, I definitely could have made more money if, or they definitely could have paid me more. So that's another financial mistake I made. Don't be afraid to go out there and request that increase. Negotiate those salaries. Don't be afraid to turn down an offer. No, people are going. Unfortunately, we are humans, and we will fall ill. We will get sick. healthcare is not going out of business. Okay.
Hmm.
So I would say basically those are two definitely things I wish I would have done financially for myself.
And I love that you brought up negotiating for your salary because a lot of people don't know. Well, usually if you have a staff position, those salaries are kind of set, but like especially as a nurse practitioner out there, there's plenty of wiggle room to negotiate your salary. And
Yes.
especially early on, like if you can negotiate early on like in your first position a higher salary, your floor is so much lower and it only goes up. And know that most of the time when people are making an offer to you, it's the bottom of what
Yes.
they have available. And so never be ashamed to ask for more. Never be
Yes.
ashamed to be like, listen, I need to think about this and I'll come back. Never be ashamed to turn something down
No.
because
Yes.
you're in fear of not being able to be employed, because that's not the case. You know, nurses are highly employable. There's so many jobs out there. And if it's
Right.
not a good fit for you overall, and that includes making sure that your financial needs are covered, turn it down. Okay.
Right.
And best
Right.
believe if they
I
really
agree.
want you, they'll court you and they'll try to get you back for what they
Yeah.
for what what they can pay or what you want. So I love that you mentioned that, because just women in general, sometimes we don't negotiate, and that's what leads to a lot of the wealth gap between men, or the wage gap between
Mm,
men and women, because
yes.
they're just like, this is what I need to get paid, and I think we need to just come to employers with that same attitude.
Right.
um but I love it. I love it. So what like techniques or tools have really helped you in your career?
I think the techniques and tools that have helped me is I for me it was watching other people who are not in my industry and learning from those people. And I think we feel like, oh, because I'm in healthcare, I should follow someone who's in healthcare also. But I mean, there are so many entrepreneurs that I get tidbits from daily that are doing things that are different, innovative, that are lucrative to their business. And you just basically you take the base or the foundation of what they're doing, their idea, and then you work it for yourself in your own business or whatever you are doing as an entrepreneur. So definitely that is a tool I use, is that I will take business ideas or just tips from people in different industries. That has helped me a lot. Another tool, staying up to date with your industry, and especially healthcare, because it's always evolving and ever changing. And so you really have to keep up with the times, especially if you want to be profitable, if you want to be successful. And for example, these days everyone is getting into telemedicine, and I tried to shy away from it. I was like, no, I need to see my patient in the office, and no, they gotta come. And now I'm finding out I'm so busy. Well, if you're ready, my patient, let's just do a video chat. We'll follow up on the video. It works for them, it works for me. They still get that personalized health care. So basically, staying up with the changes in your industry definitely, especially healthcare, has helped me in my career.
Yeah, I just love the that healthcare is so dynamic, but there's so much opportunity to learn and grow, and just I feel like there's limitless opportunities as a nurse and what you can do. But
Yeah.
just be open, and a lot of people are afraid of change, but change is where in changing is where you really find the most growth. So
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
So what other you offered a whole lot of advice for future nurses, but if there was like one thing that you well, or not just for future nurses, but for a nurse out there who maybe a nurse practitioner who's stuck in that clinic job, charting after hours, not being paid, overwhelmed, on the verge of burnout, what is one tip you can give her? What's one actionable thing she can do that can really change her trajectory, her career or financial trajectory?
you have to take a moment and step back and reevaluate why you decided to go into this career, into this profession. And I came to that um, a, a point in my career where I left full time practice. I was there full time. And because it just wasn't, I felt like I was in a box and it wasn't really what I saw myself doing long term. And so at that time, I was working full time at a practice, and I made the decision to go back for my doctorate. And it was very hard, you know, going to school full time, working full time. And so I made the decision, and a lot of people probably think this is crazy, but I left a well paying, benefited position. I took a PRN position as a nurse practitioner. And I just said, you know what, I need to make enough just to cover the cost of my bills at this time. I want to focus on school. And when I made that decision, that was a scary decision because I thought financially it would be hard. But because I took that time to step back, reevaluate, refocus, I would say it was probably the best decision I made because who knows, you know, school may have fell by the wayside if I would have continued working full time. And the opportunities that I have now, where I am now, may have not arisen had I not made that decision. So you definitely, if you are in that place, you have to step back, refocus, reevaluate, make some decisions. And sometimes they're hard decisions, but you have to look at your long-term goals versus the right here and right now.
I love it. I love it. And let's talk about your upcoming workshop that you have in Tampa, Florida. Give us some more deets and how can people attend that?
Yes, so it is the nurse practitioner workshop. So it's start your own practice 101, and basically it will be April 4th, 2020 at the Meat Suite, right outside of Tampa in Brandon, Florida. So if you are in that area or if you want to travel to that area, the information will be on my social media handles, and tickets will be via Eventbrite. And so basically, I am everything that I've learned, all the tips and tools and resources. I'm going to have some individuals who know about business law, trademarking, other nurse practitioners who've started their own business, give some other resources and talk to the attendees, and just basically help everyone jumpstart their their dream and go for their vision of starting their own practice, because I get hit probably on weekly basis from nurse practitioners that are interested in starting their own practice, and they always asking me, how did they do it, what did they do? And so basically I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do this workshop and I'm going to see how I can help others.
I love it. I love it. And I'm sure that there are plenty nurses that can benefit from this. So if you are in the Tampa, Florida area, or if you want to um, uh, travel to the Tampa, Florida area, I know that you'll gain a lot of value from this workshop. So thank you so much, Jessica. And also just share your social media handles where people can get in contact and follow up with you.
Yes, so all my social media handles are Dr. Jessica Chung. So Dr. Jessica Chung on Facebook, Dr. Jessica Chung on Instagram, Dr. Jessica Chung on LinkedIn, and
Thank
also www.drjessicachung.com.
that website. Don't forget that. So thank you so much, Jessica, for Dr. Jessica Chung. Let me to have respect on your name for joining the Nurses on Fire community. I love how you just are so inspirational and sharing about how we have to invest in ourselves because,
Yes,
we basically have a blank check and we need to take advantage of the fact that we have so much opportunity. And thank you for sharing your story. And I know that through this workshop and through your platform, you'll inspire so many. So thank you again
thank you.
for
Thank you
coming
so much for
on.
having me.
Of course.